All right, good evening. I'm Dele Ayemibo from 3 Pursuit Academy, and you're welcome to another edition of Export Business Incentive for Nigerian businesses. We started discussing this a few days ago. Today we are looking at part 6. And in the morning, we discussed export expansion grant together with the export adjustment fund conclusion of yesterday. And this evening, we'll be looking at export stimulation fund. We'll be looking at Nexim bank facilities. We'll be looking at profit exemption from tax and probably pioneer status. I'm hoping that tomorrow, when we meet in the afternoon, we should be rounding off all issue around incentive, and that will be part 7. And then probably start a new session in the evening. Tomorrow evening, we'll be definitely starting a new session. And that will probably be around documentation. We've discussed pricing already. Documentation, contract or market entry strategy, but we'll take a decision on that later on. So we'll continue from where we stop on Nigerian incentive, after the incentive for Nigerian businesses. Silas Irabo, good evening. Thank you very much and welcome. Ade Omole, good evening. Thank you very much and welcome. Jim Obatunde, thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. So we'll continue from where we stop in the morning, and this evening we are discussing Export Stimulation Fund. Export Stimulation Fund. Now, Export Stimulation Fund is an initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The facility was introduced a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, and essentially is to address the declining export credit and reposition the sector to increase the contribution to revenue generation and economic development. Now, this is an incentive from government, from CBN in particular. It was supposed to be 550 billion, because Export Stimulation Fund and a discounting facility. But it's a painful one to know that CBN delayed, and I think very, very few people have been able to access this fund. We're hoping that they'll be able to do something serious about it this year because of the new drive that CBN have towards export growth in Nigeria. Olawuwo Samuel Ladayo, thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. So it's a facility that's supposed to help, and you come to think of it, there's no way we can claim to grow exports in Nigeria without funding. Funding basically helps to expand, increase, and enlarge what we can do. If there is no funding, there's nothing we'll be able to do. And it's most unfortunate, really, that government is not taking this seriously. If the government comes out to say, this is what we want to do, and then eventually for over a year, 2 years, very few people have been able to access such opportunity, that's not good enough. That's not good enough at all, because at the end of the day, if this sector grows, government gets the glory. Because at the end of the day, they're able to lift more people out of poverty. We're able to ensure that the foreign reserve is increased. You understand? The foreign reserve is increased at the end of the day. But a situation where that is not done, then, even though it was a promise from the government, we're hoping that this year to be different, considering the fact that CBN himself have renewed drive to be able to renew the commitment to be able to drive non-oil export. As a matter of fact, the focus is to ensure that non-oil export is driven, the volume is driven so high that it surpasses the foreign portfolio investment and foreign direct investment. foreign portfolio investment, and foreign direct investment. And that's one of the things we want to do. And this fund is meant to improve export financing, increase access to low credit, and offer additional opportunities for exporters to upscale and expand. Their businesses. Opportunity for exporters to upscale and expand their businesses. CBN will invest 500 billion debenture to be issued by the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, that's the Nexim Bank, and the scheme was introduced in June 2016, but no disbursement has been made as of January 2018. But I understand some few disbursement has happened. What I'm not sure of is if those disbursements that have happened have were to real exporter or political exporter. When they give loan to farmers, we understand that there are political farmers and the portfolio farmers and the practicing farmers. So you have the practicing farmer, you have the portfolio farmer, you have the political farmers. And so the political farmers and the portfolio farmer tends to get more funding than the practicing farmers. Now, this was in the previous era, but in this new era, I think the practicing farmer are able to get, even though maybe the political are still getting, but the practicing farmer at least are able to get because a number of them actually have the credit coming directly to their account. I have that on strong authority discussing with some of the people that disburse those funds from the government agencies. Alright, so that's the challenge. This is an incentive of the government. The fund is still there, but not many people have been able to access it. But I understand that it's being seriously addressed right now. Then we have the Nexim Bank facility itself. Nexim have its own facility as a government agency, started responsibility of promoting funding for export. That's its own facility. These are risk-bearing facilities available to the exporter and financial intermediaries engaged in export financing through Nexim Bank. Now, these facilities include rediscounting and refinancing facility. So they can discount, if you have already discounted the fund with commercial bank, they can rediscount. And then if the bank already financed, that's commercial bank, they can refinance. So they can rediscount, they can refinance, and what that means is that they can give you cheaper rate, longer duration, better than what the commercial bank will do. Then Export Credit Guarantee Facility, Adauzu Zion. Thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. Export Credit Guarantee Facility. Export Credit Guarantee Facility. The way Export Credit Guarantee Facility works is this. If I need to get a loan from a bank and I don't have the required collateral, I can approach Nexim. It is assumed that Nexim terms will be less stringent and probably the rate also will be lower, and the requirement should not be as stringent as the commercial bank. So Nexim will give me export credit guarantee. With the export credit guarantee from Nexim Bank, I can get a loan from a commercial bank because basically Nexim guarantee is like a collateral for the loan from commercial bank. So Nexim is not giving me the cash, but it's guaranteeing the commercial bank that if they give me the cash and anything go wrong, the commercial bank can call on that guarantee and Nexim will pay the commercial bank while following up on me for their payment. So this makes commercial bank to be very much interested because at the end of the day, they don't need hardcore collateral like a legal mortgage, but they can have a very liquid collateral like what was the name? Like guarantee from a reputable organization like Nexim, funded by government, and have a singular opportunity, objective of mainly promoting export. Now, so when they give me that facility as an exporter, I can then go and source for my goods, manufacture if I need to manufacture, source for raw materials and produce, and then ship the goods out, and then present document to my bank, who send it to the buyer's bank for payment. When a buyer's bank abroad receives that document is examined. If a letter of credit transaction, hopefully no discrepant, then they are expected to pay. Now, in the event they are unable to pay, probably because of a political risk, economic risk, force majeure, for whatever reason they are unable to pay, even though I have shipped, the bank locally will approach Nexim to call on the guarantee, the export credit guarantee. They'll call on that guarantee. Calling on it meaning they are writing and saying, look, we hereby request for the payment, refund of the fund advanced to so and so exporter based on the guarantee received from Nexim Bank. And of course, Nexim Bank will have to refund that money to the bank. And Nexim Bank will now follow up on the customer to see how the issue can be resolved to be able to get back that facility. Now, that's the facility of Nexim Bank, to encourage export, such that when the requirement of commercial bank is too stringent, you can approach Nexim to be able to get this. And I understand this is still ongoing. It's still very much ongoing. Then we have the export insurance facility. Export insurance facility. Now, export insurance facility is, export credit insurance facility. Export credit insurance facility. Export credit insurance facility is different from export credit guarantee. And the difference is that in the export credit guarantee, that is protecting the loan. That's collateralizing the loan. That's guaranteeing the loan. That's giving assurance to the bank that the loan is protected. Whereas the export credit insurance does not have anything to do with the loan. Is actually securing the payment expected on the transaction. So if I'm doing a bill for collection transaction, if I'm doing an open account transaction, if I'm doing a transaction with a payment method that is not very secured, and eventually the risk of non-payment crystallized, if I already process export credit insurance, it becomes easier for me to claim payment. If I already process export credit insurance, it's better for me to claim payment from the insurance company. So export credit insurance insures the export proceed. Export credit guarantee guarantees the loan given to an exporter by a commercial bank. Export credit insurance insures the export proceed on sales made by an exporter to the importer. It ensures sales and proceed on sales made by an exporter to an importer. So it's very important we understand the difference between the two of them. So in export credit insurance, I approach Nexim to apply, fulfill their requirements, pay their fees and dues, and I'm given that insurance before I ship. And upon shipment, based on open account or bill for collection, I expect payment to be made. If payment is not made, probably because the exporter become bankrupt, there is a political risk, there is an economic risk, there is a challenge in the country of the buyer such that he became unable to pay, he has become incapacitated, unable to, or I could not even locate him, it's nowhere to be found. Then I can call on that insurance and the insurance will pay me the fund I'm expecting. Now, this I understand is currently not fully operational. I don't know what the problem is. I've asked a couple of Nexim staff and they say, I don't know if it's professional or not. So at the time I checked, that was late last year, it was not fully operational. But they promise that they are working seriously on it to ensure that at the end of the day, it is used, it's operational, and is become an instrument that people can use. And the beauty of this is that if you have this as an exporter, then you can also you can discount your invoice when you ship. As a matter of fact, it becomes easier to get facility from bank because bank now know you have an insurance to insure your proceed. Then we have the industrial export facility. Now, industrial export facility basically is to finance those that are into manufacturing for the purpose of export, both for machinery, raw materials, but basically to finance people that are into manufacturing, processing for the purpose of export. Joyce James, thank you very much for joining us. Good evening and welcome. All these are described as being all these facilities rather are from Nigerian, where some are functional, some are not functional. I've told you the one that is not functional. That's the export credit insurance. And the fact that exporters have also complained of inability to access these facilities from Nigerian Bank. It's interesting that we put out some of these things and people are unable to have access to them for reasons best known to these agencies of government. All right, let's look at number 9, profit exemption from tax. Profit exemption from tax. The company income tax SITA of state that there shall be exemption from tax the profit of any Nigerian company in respect of goods exported from Nigeria, provided that the proceeds of such export are repatriated to Nigeria. There is a condition here that we need to be very mindful of. So we don't just assume that, look, you have access to this incentive, even though you are not doing what you're supposed to do as far as the government is concerned. The Company Income Tax Act. Recently I also read a couple of stuff from the Company Income Tax Act, making people to realize the fact that there are some laws in Nigeria that are already there to help. So you found in the Incentive and Miscellaneous Provision Act, and then you found in the Company Income Tax Act, incentive already entrenched in Nigerian law to support, assist, protect, encourage non-oil export from Nigeria. This provision in SITA is saying that if I'm exporting from Nigeria, I'm supposed to pay company income tax. But it's saying I will not be paying that company income tax as long as the business is a business of exportation and the proceeds of our export has been repatriated back into Nigerian economy. What that means is that if my business is registered for exportation and I do not export, I can't enjoy this. If I export without documentation, I can't enjoy this. If I export with documentation without repatriation of proceeds, I cannot enjoy this. So number 1, my company must be registered for export. Number 2, I must have my export license. Number 3, I must export with the required pre- and post-export documentation. Number 4, my proceed must come back. And I have a record of all this so I can apply to be able to benefit from this so that when it's time for me to pay my company income tax, I am exonerated from such taxes because there are incentives entrenched in Nigerian law to encourage people like me who export out of Nigeria. Remember, we've seen some before now. We've seen the manufacturer inbound scheme. We've seen the export development fund. We've seen the export adjustment fund or facility. No, export adjustment fund. And all these are designed by government to be able to ensure that exporters in Nigeria are able to enjoy a leverage that makes them competitive. Remember, we have a lot of disadvantages. Power is one. Road is one. Another. And you don't know how critical these two are. The cost of moving the goods alone can make me become very, very, very uncompetitive in the international market. Remember, we are talking about export here, by the way, and that's export trade, international trade. And I'm competing with countries abroad who have light, who have water, who have road and rail, who can move their good at the cheapest price possible. But more importantly, they also have incentive. So if government is not giving Nigerian exporter incentive, we are joking. We are joking. We are joking. We are joking because we will not be able to compete. Because these people are, there's some country that the way government give them incentive. When government realize how vital these people are in terms of the potential, as in government realize that, look, these people are so vital and so important, the farmers, the exporters, and they want to ensure that they are not discouraged. So sometimes they tell them to produce less and pay them to do that. Sometimes they tell them to produce more and pay them to do that. They work with government from time to time to be able to do this business. So at the end of the day, so many incentives that government have made available. So I'm talking about the fact that Nigerian government doing it is not really it's not a big deal. The only challenge is that many people are not aware and many people are not benefiting from it. But it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. It's expected. Because any serious-minded government, forward-thinking, wanting its people to be competitive, looking for opportunities abroad, trying to grow its foreign reserve, trying to ensure the SME grow and create jobs, will definitely give incentive to exporters to be able to create market for them and make them competitive in that market. So at the end of the day, they are able to enjoy, as a government, they are also able to enjoy the benefit of such businesses and such companies. So what we are seeing the government do already in our law, right from the military era, I'm not surprised. I'm rather surprised that many people are not aware, because also, many people are not aware because, of course, lack of awareness creation on the part of the government anyway. Because how do people know if they are not informed, if government does not inform them about how this works? Now, these proceeds are used, talking about the proceeds that must have come back, these proceeds are to be used exclusively for the purposes of raw materials, plants, equipment, and spare parts. Now, Ode Sunday, thank you very much for joining. What the law is saying is that when you are exempted from tax, that amount that you are supposed to pay government that you're not paying should be used for expansion of your export business. How? The proceeds should be used exclusively for purchase of raw materials. What it's saying is that you can't go and use that money to go and build a house or buy a car or do some other things for yourself. It must be invested into the business to buy either raw materials, to buy plants, to buy equipments, and to buy spare parts. So for example, you're supposed to pay 30% company income tax on the shipment of goods that is worth, maybe you ship goods worth 100 million, and then you made maybe 30 million profit, and then you're supposed to pay 30% of that, which is about 9 million to government. And now you're exempted from that tax, and government is saying that 9 million that you're exempted from should not be used just for anything. It should not be shared as among the staff as profit sharing for the year, but rather it should be used exclusively for the purchase of raw materials, plant, equipment, and spare parts. It should be used exclusively for the purchase of raw material, equipment, and spare parts. It should be used exclusively for the purchase of raw materials, plant, equipment, and spare parts. Purchase of raw material, plant, equipment, and spare parts. Things that will be needed to grow, to increase, to expand the business. Those are the things that government is interested in you using that money for. This incentive is functional, but exporters seem not to be aware of this. Just the way we are now aware of a number of other laws. There is a law also, I think it's in the Incentive Miscellaneous Provision Act, that says that. No, it's in CITA, Company Income Tax Act. Let me see, it's part of what I have here. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm talking about it tomorrow. As I round off, I would like to say that this is the part 7 of the export incentive for Nigerian businesses. Sorry, part 6. But tomorrow we'll be doing part 7. Sorry, let me just quickly confirm. Yes, this part 6, and then we're looking at part 7 tomorrow. Now, and tomorrow we'll be talking about pioneer status. We're talking about capital asset depreciation allowance. We're talking about currency retention scheme, and we're talking about tax relief on interest income. We're talking about four incentive tomorrow. And that tomorrow will be rounding off in the afternoon by 2 p.m. We'll be rounding off talking about the export incentive for businesses in Nigeria. And then we'll move on to, in the evening by 8 p.m., just like this, we'll move on to a new discussion. All right. Thank you very much for joining again today. My name is Dele Ayemibo. I hope you went to vote. See mine? So I voted. So I hope you went to vote also and perform your civic responsibility, even though it's late now, you can go again. So what's good is for us to wait for our different governor in different states to know exactly who will be winning the election, and then we keep up the advocacy and discussion to whoever comes in to be able to ensure they do what is expected of them. For our governors to become so independent, I've talked about this. The governor can become very independent. Maybe I will even take a session to really, maybe later on, to talk seriously about the governor should become very independent, very, very, very independent of all these, dependent on Abuja for their survival, by just concentrating on exporting the item in their state, both commodity, agri-commodity or solid minerals, and generate income for themselves. All right, thank you very much for listening. This is Import Export Platform from 3 Trade Academy. My name remains Dele Ayemibo. See you tomorrow, and have a great weekend.